When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. You're ready to move your business forward, but first, you need to find the right team. Start your search with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It can help you reach qualified candidates fast, ensuring your listing is the first one they see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. See the results for yourself. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to the Dr. Raj Podcast with Dr. Raj Dasgupta, a show all about educating patients, students, and aspiring doctors about better patient care. Dr. Raj is a quadruple board-certified physician and associate professor at the University of Southern California. He was a co-host of the TNT series Chasing the Cure with Ann Curry, as well as a regular on the TV show The Doctors. And now, here's our show.
Hi, and welcome to the Dr. Raj Podcast. What is this a podcast about? It's all about wellness. It's about happiness. It's about great stories. It's about stories that pump you up because people are strong and courageous, which is why I have a very special guest today. But let me take a step back. You know, I always kind of brag that the Dr. Raj Podcast is not just going to be cool in California. I wanted it to be popular in the country. In fact, I kind of wanted to be popular in the world. So I'm not joking. Today's guest is actually calling in, whatever it is, onlining in from Australia. It's like 6 a.m. in the morning, her time. I'm so pumped that I have people that I know in different countries. So that's one thing. The second thing is I always want to be a proponent for rare diseases. You know, I always feel diseases that need someone to stand up for them, to actually, bring them to the forefront. And one of the diseases I'm very passionate about is Scleroderma. So my guest today also has Scleroderma. She is from Australia. This podcast is officially international, so I'm so excited. So today's guest is Claudia Sultan, and I'm going to read something about her before I introduce her. Claudia was born and raised in Australia. She obtained a bachelor's degree in science, majoring in psychology. And in 2013, she was unfortunately diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called Scleroderma. Literally, she wrote down, it hijacked her life and robbed her of many opportunities. After undergoing a stem cell transplant, she has regained her quality of life and independence, and she enjoys spending quality time with her family and friends, walks on the beach. Well, it is Australia, She's obsessed with shopping, baking, but she put in a little parentheses bracket. She's still finding her way around the kitchen. She likes dancing, pizza, creative writing, movies, and I'm going to ask her this. She loves 80s music. Yay, Duran Duran. Continues being the better version of herself by creating new memories and appreciating the littlest things of life. Everyone, welcome Claudia. Claudia, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. How did you like your intro? Did I pump you up?
Oh, that was fantastic. I love it. You did a great job.
Cool. So are you kind of a morning person, or is this rough for you?
Actually, no, I am a morning person. So this is very normal for me. So yeah.
Okay. Well, let's start off because I do want to start off with Scleroderma in general. And I don't want to give a straight medical lecture about it, but I want to ask you some questions about your journey, and I'll kind of interrupt you nicely and throw in some medical pearls. So
yeah, not a problem.
What were kind of like the first signs or symptoms that you knew something wasn't right?
Okay, so my first signs was that I noticed a discoloring in my fingers. So they had changed from white to blue, then red. And this was while I was standing outside my building office smoking a cigarette at the time. Look, at the time, I really didn't think much of it. But it wasn't until a few days later that I was sitting in the office at my desk, and I noticed a discoloring in my fingers again, but only this time with throbbing pains. So there was that pins and needles feeling. And so I consulted with a vascular specialist who then immediately diagnosed me with Raynaud's and then referred me on to a rheumatologist who then issued a number of tests. And then later confirmed I had scleroderma.
I think you're giving the abbreviated version. So for, med students, so Raynaud's is exactly what she describes associated with scleroderma, but Raynaud's could be by itself. Raynaud's could be associated with many, many other rheumatological diseases like a lupus and so forth. So besides the Raynaud's, did you have other symptoms? I'm going to throw it out there. Did you have difficulty swallowing? Did you have shortness of breath? What else kind of jumped to mind?
Back in 2013, I really didn't have many symptoms. It was more so the Raynaud's. It was just the discoloring in my fingers. But then shortly after, a few months later, my condition actually was getting quite, let's just say, because of the progression of the disease, my condition had changed, and I felt that the skin was very hard in some areas of my body. So in my wrist, in my ankles, in my kneecaps, there was this swellness, this inflammation build up. So yeah, that was kind of very early on.
Now, for those who don't know, scleroderma is more than just affecting the skin. Of course, that is the most, it's dramatic. We notice the change in patient's appearance. Their skin becomes hard and sclerosed, hence scleroderma. But it can affect every single organ in the body. So some of the patients I've seen, Claudia, or help manage, I don't know if I told you this before, my wife's a rheumatologist. So,
okay.
Yeah. So she's just as passionate as I am. Many of the patients get underdiagnosed or misdiagnosed before the correct diagnosis of scleroderma is given. So was it that, were you fortunate to where, hey, Raynaud's, exam, boom, scleroderma, or was there a big delay in seeing multiple doctors in between before someone definitively said it was scleroderma?
So actually with my case, the first rheumatologist that I saw, and he was the one that the vascular surgeons referred me to, he actually told me on the spot in my first consultation that I had scleroderma.
Wow.
And so he thought immediately, he said, I think it's actually scleroderma, but I won't know until you can, complete a number of tests to confirm that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's how it pretty much started. It was just that one consultation. He just knew immediately.
We should promote this rheumatologist because he seems awesome.
Actually, I would have to disagree with you on that.
Okay, I didn't know.
But I'll get to that shortly. I'll explain why.
Okay, so let's go to your feelings. I think that my wife always tells me because, many rheumatologists have to diagnose some rare diseases, and he tells you, hey, you got scleroderma. Were you shocked? Were you crying? Were you like, whatever? Like, when did it really hit you about the severity of what you had?
Okay, so look, at the time, like when he said to me that I had scleroderma, I mean, it was the first time of hearing the word scleroderma. And I asked him to explain what it was and the life expectancy. But he used words like fatal death, life expectancy, was anything between 10 to 15 years, internal organ, damage. And so I sat there, I was shocked. I was really shocked. But I looked over to my mum where she was sitting because she had come with me to the consultation, and she was in tears. Oh, she was just crying helplessly. But whereas I was sitting there and more like, what? me, this can't be happening to me. No, not something like this. It took me a very long time to accept that I had scleroderma, and I relied heavily on Google. Google became my new best friend.
I'm chuckling with you because, sometimes when I have the opportunity to, make a diagnosis of something that's not common, my patients are, they kind of try to take it all in. It's when they go home and go to Wikipedia and go to Google, that's when tears start coming out because kidding me? Are you kidding me? So yeah, I could see where you're coming from with that. Now, tell me about your journey about having it in the sense that I know you got a stem cell transplant, and I got to tell you, that's not the most common thing that people with scleroderma get. And usually you got to have a very, severe progressive disease to get it. Tell me about what organs started really coming to the forefront. What treatments did you try before saying I need a stem cell? What happened in between?
Okay. So I had tried so many drugs to reduce my symptoms, but they all failed me. So I was on prednisone. I was also taking calcium channel blockers, and I was on inflammation tablets as well. So there was like Mobic. I was taking turmeric as well at the time. So I pretty much used whatever the doctor recommended to slow down the progression of the disease. However, the rheumatologist that prescribed, that actually diagnosed me with scleroderma, suggested I trial methotrexate to slow down the progression of the disease. And initially I started off with tablets. Okay. And but actually that didn't work because my skin had become very hard and stiff in so many areas of my body that was impacting my mobility and my quality of life. Like I discovered a number of physical changes in my hands, my face that were in my body that were quite beyond my control. And of course. So this one afternoon I was on the train home from work, and the train pulled up, at my stop, and I got off, my seat to walk down the stairs, and I lost control of both of my knees. My knees kind of just buckled in. I fell forward and landed on my hips. Oh my God. And while I was still taking methotrexate, so then my rheumatologist suggested I trial with the methotrexate, but as an injection form. Yeah. And so as months progressed, I found myself just unable to bend my elbows, straighten them, or even get out of bed or I was constantly calling in sick. I had trouble lifting my arms over my head. I was, and I found myself that I was so broken and damaged, and I was trying so hard to live a normal life. But I just felt that scleroderma had disrupted, my life, my world, hijacked my world in so many ways and restricted me from doing the things that I love doing. And so it seemed that even methotrexate was not slowing down the progression of the disease. So, wow. So I had to, then I sought another opinion about my condition, which I met another rheumatologist, and he suggested the stem cell transplant.
Wow. Now, let me be dorky medical dude for some of the people listening. So, scleroderma, Claudia could attest to this. There really is no cure, which stinks, and that's why we need to raise awareness about it. And steroids, prednisone, wow, they don't really have a big role in scleroderma patients. And most of the time you end up getting the bad side effects of all those steroids. And you know what I'm talking about, swelling and weight gain and insomnia and high blood pressure and poorly controlled blood sugars. Steroids are tough, for any disease state. And methotrexate, supposedly in the olden days, there was some data about helping out with the skin. It wasn't like great data. It also has a lot of side effects, unfortunately, when you take the medication. And sometimes when you want to get better, what they call, availability in the body, you'll take it when you inject it instead of taking it by mouth, where maybe you're not absorbing as much of the drug. But man, you went for it. And how did that conversation come about the stem cell transplant? So let me just tell you, Claudia, when the patients I've used or referred to for stem cell transplant had a lot of the lung involvement for scleroderma. And I got to tell you, scleroderma in the lung are like peanut butter and jelly. You guys get fibrosis, you get something called pulmonary hypertension. Did you have any lung stuff with your scleroderma?
Well, yes. So by this stage, I was using methotrexate, so injecting myself weekly for 3 months.
Okay.
And there was, so they detected after a CT scan, they detected some scarring around my lungs. So in the lower lobes, I had chronic bronchitis. And they found that there was some fibrosis as well.
Oh, boy.
So, I kind of found myself that I was struggling to walk up a flight of stairs. And I think the breaking point for me was this one time I got, because I live about 2.5 hours from my current job. So where I go to my office. So it's a city called Sydney. And
I know Sydney.
So I have to commute to work. So I would get up like every morning at 5 a.m., get ready, get my makeup done, pack my breakfast and my lunch, and make sure my bed is fixed before I leave the house so I can get, be in the office by 8 o'clock. And this one morning, I just reached Central's train station, and I got there and the escalator was out of order, like they were doing maintenance, and the lift was not working either. So they were also doing maintenance, and so I stood there and I thought, oh my God, how am I going to get up those stairs? So I took it upon me. I'm like, you know what, I have to do this. And I'm like, I need to get to the office. I'm running late. It was raining heavily that day as well. And so I remember just walking up those stairs, just taking one step at a time. But it was when I reached the top of those stairs, I burst into tears. Like I was out of breath. I was out of breath. I was so exhausted. I actually moved to the side to get out everyone's way because they're all rushing to the office too. And I burst into tears and I thought, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I was so physically exhausted. I was like, I had throbbing pain in my body, in all areas of my body. And suddenly I became this girl with chronic pain. And I felt so trapped in this foreign body, feeling so disconnected. And while I was trying so hard to put up a good front. And then it soon became a rather simple decision to proceed with a stem cell transplant.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Were you using oxygen, Claudia, at any time?
No, not at all. No, I was trying so hard to fight this disease, this awful disease. I was trying so hard to live a normal life and not lose my identity, my independence, and my sanity to this disease. But what can I say? It was much stronger than I was, and it really hijacked my world. And at the time, I had consulted with a second rheumatologist. Because methotrexate was not working in my favor, and I found that my body was deteriorating so quickly, and I had no control of it. And so he suggested the stem cell transplant, and he said it will improve your life. Improve your quality of life, and it will reverse your condition by 50%. Now, it's not a cure.
Correct. Correct.
So, but to be honest, I was afraid. I was afraid of the side effects of the chemo. I thought, what if it failed? What if it didn't work in my favor? Yeah. And then there was the mortality rate as well. So, at first I declined. I thought, you know what? No, I will not go ahead with the stem cell transplant. I'm gonna fight this out. I'm just gonna keep pushing forward, and I'm not gonna let this disease consume my everyday living. But like I said, it was much stronger than I was.
I mean, and so let's fast forward literally to the day of the transplant. I mean, were you just so excited to get it done? Were you worried? How was the chemo? Because for those who don't know, they're taking your cells, your stem cells that make all the WBCs, white blood cells, red blood cells, and everything, and putting it back into you, but really hitting you with chemotherapy. How was that whole process?
Look, I'll be honest with you. I was not excited about doing it. I wasn't. I was really scared. But I felt that I owed it to myself and then also to my family. I could see that my disease, my illness was also taking a toll on them. And they were trying so hard to keep it together, and so was I. And suddenly my pain became their pain too. So when I signed that 15-page consent form to proceed with a stem cell transplant, I took a big risk. But chemo was tough. It was hard. I mean, there were days I did felt that at one stage I lost my identity. I couldn't recognize the girl in the mirror anymore. I had lost my hair, and I kind of felt less desirable as a woman. And so there are things about my body that were changing, and even my skin color as well, because chemo had also played with that as well. That was one of the side effects, but more so it took toll on my body, where I was constantly fatigued, and I had lost a tremendous amount of weight. I had dropped down to 42 kilos, and I was always vomiting, and there was that that foggy brain as well. Yeah. And there were days that I had a heart rate of 185 and a fever of 44. So it was tough. It was tough, in the hospital ward. It wasn't easy at all.
Of course not. Now, let's talk about the good things. So what did the stem cell transplant improve the most? What was the biggest change after, down the line? Was it the skin? What was the best parts?
The best part about the transplant was that I basically regained my quality of life. I mean, right to the end where, I couldn't even walk anymore. Yeah. I couldn't even have a shower. I couldn't even, just bathe myself, dress myself, or even make myself a cup of tea. So the transplant worked in so many ways. Nice. Although I still have lung disease. So that's very unfortunate. But in saying that, I found that I'm able to do so many things that I couldn't do before. And even the skin in areas of my body have softened and have improved. And so apart from my face and my fingers, everywhere in I've got areas of my body that are very, very soft. So I'm able to, things that I couldn't do before, I can do now. And I'm just so thankful that, I haven't lost my independence.
I love it.
I think that was a really big thing for me. I was so consumed to my bed. I felt like I was, trapped in my own prison. And I couldn't do anything without support from my mom or my family. Aww. Whereas now I've kind of regained that, and I'm doing everyday activities, things that I couldn't do before that were completely out of my control. So I've kind of returned to normal life, basically, except for the lung disease and the chronic cough.
Well, before we go into your book and everything, I want to make sure I save some time for that. Let me be like the big brother and say something that I do see a lot of scleroderma lung patients, and I want you to be aware that there's something called pulmonary arterial hypertension, where the blood vessels in the lungs get some high blood pressure sometimes, and something you want to monitor. And the fibrosis that happens with scleroderma, there's some new medications out there, and I really want you to talk to your rheumatologist, maybe get a pulmonologist that kind of, is involved with that. But, even this drug that we're hearing all over this pandemic, tocilizumab, actually has some data for patients who have, fibrosis and scleroderma. And there's actually a brand name of a drug called OFEV, that also got some good data about fibrosis and scleroderma. So can you promise me you're going to look into some of these things?
100%, I will. I promise you. However, my hematologist recommended a drug called mycophenolate.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, but I've been completely against it.
Okay, definitely.
Now, the reason I'll explain why. Quickly. The reason why I decided against mycophenolate is because I do actually want to get pregnant and start my own family. And so that's why I've been very hesitant about using it.
I love talking shop with you. So, when in scleroderma fibrosis, a long, long time ago, galaxy far, far away, they'd use really toxic drugs like cyclophosphamide in the olden days. And a big thing about getting a stem cell transplant is not to use that really toxic drug cyclophosphamide. Then brand name Cellcept, which is the one you're talking about, mycophenolate, really became the main drug for a while. But do that homework assignment I gave you about that tocilizumab and Ofev, and you'll be interested.
Okay.
But
after
you have the baby.
Okay.
Now, all right. Now let's go back to Dr. Raj podcast, all fun and happy. Let's talk about this family of yours. So I'm going to ask you something, because I was reading something about you, and it says that your family is loud and gossipy. I kind of thought of your family like My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Like, they're all kind of like in their business and everything. Is that your family? Or is it
Yes, that's pretty much, you've summed it up. Yeah, we're a loud, lovable bunch, but it's just chaos when we all get together. Everyone seems to know each other's secrets and business, but it's all good fun. I love them to bits, but we're just that big bunch where we get together and everyone just sits there and talks about one another, but all in good fun. So so we spend 6 hours chatting about it, about a certain someone or something at family gatherings, and then we'll end the conversation with, let's not talk about them, God's going to judge us.
That's funny. So hey, let's talk about some book action. So
okay.
Book, I'm telling you, listeners, it's called A Life with Uncertainty. It must be a popular book, because I told Claudia to send me a copy, and she said no. I was kind of mad at her for a while. Hey, tell me about what motivated you for writing this book.
Okay, so because I had been through so much, and I felt like I owed it to myself to actually get my story out there. I wanted people to understand that what scleroderma is. When I first got diagnosed, I mentioned, I turned to Google and I roamed the internet looking for information about scleroderma. But what I found was the horrors, of the disease. But you just don't read about real life experiences. And something I wanted to hear from my doctors, but they didn't share that information with you. So I took it upon myself to actually write about my journey. And I felt that it was part of my closure as well. So while I was writing, I was reliving each moment. And I'm so glad it took me a long time to write this book, actually. Because I made a lot of edits. In 2 years, I probably got maybe version 12 because I just kept adding to it. The first time I wrote this book, it was more of a health guide. And then I thought, oh my God, this is just too boring. And then I decided to make it more personal, add about a bit about, my large family, even what I felt. So I decided to write about my diagnosis, my medical journey with chemotherapy, and my path to self-discovery and acceptance. Sharing stories of my anxiety, my loss of identity, quality of life, independence, and general well-being, and my efforts to retain a normal life and maintain that independence. But then also I felt that I should also write about my struggles with chronic pain, depression, isolation, and fear, and how in the midst of it all, my faith was really tested to see how much I could truly handle. Yeah. So, if anything, I think it's more of a guide for understanding the manifestations of scleroderma, but reading through real life experiences. So also, I don't think you need to have scleroderma to appreciate this book. This book can also be helpful for anyone that has an autoimmune disease, because it does actually talk about, finding my path to self-discovery and self-improvement. And I talk about how I went from being in a depressive state to finding acceptance along the way. And appreciating that I've been given that even though this transplant has affected my life in so many ways, I've received the greatest gift of all, a second chance to life. And and I've kind of just finding I see life differently. I'm learning to appreciate it more and learning to find happiness and joy in the smallest things.
Well, nice answer. So, I mean, it sounds like, and I read a lot of reviews about your book, and I haven't even seen one bad review online. It sounds like you really include a lot of personal things, but I got to ask you this question. Was there anything that you did not include in the book because you were kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's religion, maybe it's family, maybe it's love or something with the medicine? What did you not include in the book? Something special that you could reveal on the Dr. Raj podcast?
that's what can I say? I was very honest in my journey. So come to think of it, I could have added a lot of things, maybe more about my love life.
Okay, I like this.
Yeah. But I kind of I purposely chose to leave some things out because I thought maybe that's another story. My main focus here was scleroderma.
Well, now that we kind of opened this door, let me ask you two quick questions. How many brothers and sisters do you have? And you're talking about having a baby. Are you?
So I've got 3 brothers and 1 sister.
Okay.
And no, I'm not in a relationship, so I'm single, but I'm hoping to find that special someone and start a family one day.
And if you meet that someone through my podcast, are you going to let me know?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I'll even invite you to my wedding.
I love it.
Lebanese wedding.
I love it. That's funny. So I know you kind of hinted at this already, but I just want to ask you directly. Was the writing process for you, was it fun or was it more of a chore? Did you find yourself like, what did I get myself into? When you look back, what was the overall emotions that you had with the writing process?
It's funny you say that because it was, it was a bit of a roller coaster. I'm working full time. So I was writing after hours. So in the evenings, on weekends, on Friday nights, any chance that I could get. And I mean, I was writing till early hours in the morning, up to 3 a.m. in the morning. It's funny because, I mean, sometimes I'll get really good ideas that will come to me in the shower. Even when I'm at work, I have to just get out the shower and, write it on my phone quickly, write it down in a message, send it to myself so I don't forget. But, it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it. It was, as I mentioned before, it did bring back a lot of emotions, mixed emotions. It was tough writing it. The book itself, but I enjoyed every bit of it, and I'm now actually working on my second book.
Oh, now you read the line. I don't know if you put a camera in my office, but that was my last question. What are the plans for future books? What's up next? Give me some expand a little bit. Tell me about this second book. What's it all about?
Yeah, I'm sorry for the excessive coffee. As you know, it's part of my lung.
Dude, you got some fibrosis and scleroderma. If anyone makes fun of you, you give them my address. I'm going to give them.
Okay, we'll do. All right. The second book, basically, I've written it from a very different angle. It's still about scleroderma, but this time it's from my mother's perspective. Now, my mom had a big part in my journey, and she actually spent all her days and nights with me in the hospital world.
Oh.
Yes. So she actually slept on the old recliner chair in the hospital, and she stayed with me, and she kind of battled my journey with me. So like I said, it was my story and her story too. But this time I've decided to write it from her perspective. And I'm going back to 1965 when she was born.
Wow.
So, yes.
Dude, this has Netflix written all over it. I got to tell you, dude. I see something here. I like that. I'm going to throw in a random question here. I wasn't going to ask you this, but what did you want to be when you're growing up? It sounds like you should have been a writer from day one with your creativity.
Actually, it's funny you say that because so when I was young, I wanted to be a journalist.
Oh,
and then
okay.
And as I grew older, as a young teenager, I wanted to be a nurse.
Oh,
then all changed. So, but I really found my passion here. I really enjoyed writing. I kind of just have a flow to it. It just comes to me so naturally, and so.
Well, let me ask you my last question. I'm going to let you kind of like promote yourself in the book and all that kind of good stuff. But one of the big things that says I want to make this happen, this interview, was when I was reading your bio and it said you love 80s music. So
Yeah.
I'm a huge 80s fan. So can you tell me who your favorite bands are so I can just kind of hear them?
Okay, so Roxette.
She's Got the Look was one of her songs, like Roxette.
No, Roxette, I believe so, but they let me think again. One of the songs is in the soundtrack of Pretty Woman.
Yes. Oh my God. It's a love song, but it's over now. That song.
Yes.
Love.
So,
It must have been love.
That's my favorite.
Totally.
And also Simply Red Star. Yeah. Amy Grant.
Yes.
Baby. Inner Circle, Sweat. What else can I? Van Morrison, Have I Told You Lately, which is also by Rod Stewart.
Yes. Do you have like a nice CD collection over there where you have your 80s?
Yes, I do. Yes, and Richard Max, Right Here Waiting, and Michael Bolton. I've got a large range of songs on my Spotify.
Well, I love that you love the 80s. I think that's just awesome. So, hey, Claudia, I mean, it's amazing how like time just flew by, but I want to make sure the most important thing in the whole world is that raise awareness about scleroderma, let people know this amazing story you've been through and talk about your book. So where can people find out more about you, your book, purchase your book?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got an Instagram page. So if anyone wants to follow my journey, it's at living_with_scleroderma. If you'd like to purchase my book, it's available for all my international followers on Amazon, on a book depository, so on a number of websites, actually. And for all my Australian followers, the link is actually in my bio on my Instagram page, but they can also head to Shoreline Publishing, where they'll find my book there.
And you know what, everyone, that we have what's called show notes. So when you download my podcast, listen to my podcast, go to the show notes, and we'll put all that information that Claudia just said there so you can find her there also. You know, Claudia, this was such a treat. And, you know, always, I mean this, not just because we're taping this, that call me, get a hold of me, Instagram me if you ever need anything. And you really are an inspiration to all people, not just people with scleroderma.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me on your podcast and for inviting me. And I'd also like to send you a copy of my book.
It only took 6 months after you rejected me, but when you send it, is there a chance you could do a little signature in there so I can show it up?
Oh, absolutely. Most definitely. I will. Yeah.
All right.
I wrote a personal message.
I love it. Well, hey, thank you, Claudia. And for everyone else, hey, thank you for tuning in to the Dr. Raj podcast.
Thanks for listening. This has been a production of Ars Longa Media. Our producers are Madison Linden and Chris Brightigan. Our executive producer is Dr. Patrick Beeman. This podcast is for educational purposes only and not intended for medical advice. Ars Longa, Vita Brevis.
So you want to start a business. You might think you need a team of people and fancy tech skills, but you don't. You just need GoDaddy Aero. I'm Walton Goggins, and as an actor, I'm an expert in looking like I know what I'm doing. GoDaddy Aero uses AI to create everything you need to grow a business. It'll make you a unique logo. It'll create a custom website. It'll write social posts for you and even set you up with a social media calendar. Get started at GoDaddy.com/Aero. That's GoDaddy.com/AIRO.